The moment a man starts explaining himself, desire has already begun to fade. Think about it. Explaining why you didn't reply sooner. Explaining what you really meant. Explaining your intentions, your tone, your behavior. Not because she asked, but because you felt the need to. Most men believe this is good communication. They think clarity builds connection. It doesn't. What you're actually communicating is uncertainty. Every explanation is a subtle request. Please understand me. Please don't misjudge me. Please don't withdraw. And the more you explain, the more you hand over authority over how you feel about yourself. Women don't lose desire because men say the wrong thing. They lose desire when a man reveals that her reaction has more power over him than his own inner stability. This video isn't about manipulation. It isn't about playing games. And it isn't about saying less to appear mysterious. It's about understanding what over-explaining reveals psychologically and how to replace it with something far more attractive, a calm, self-anchored presence that doesn't need permission to exist. If you've ever felt the urge to justify yourself, to clarify when nothing was asked, to explain in order to keep the connection alive, stay, because what you're about to hear has nothing to do with her and everything to do with you. Most men think over-explaining is communication. They believe they are being clear, honest, and emotionally responsible. In reality, over-explaining has very little to do with clarity. It is not about helping someone understand you better. It is about protecting yourself from how you might be perceived. Over-explaining happens the moment a man feels internally unsettled. Something shifts in the dynamic, and instead of staying grounded, he tries to stabilize the situation with words. He fills the silence. He adds context. He justifies, not because it's necessary, but because he feels a subtle loss of control. At its core, over-explaining is self-justification. It is an attempt to manage another person's emotional response so that you can feel safe again. Every added sentence is a quiet signal that their approval matters more than your own internal alignment. This is why over-explaining often appears right after small moments of tension, a delayed reply, a change in tone, a neutral reaction that feels ambiguous. Rather than tolerating uncertainty, the man rushes to explain, hoping to prevent distance before it forms. The problem is not the information being shared. The problem is the state from which it is shared. Over-explaining communicates that you are negotiating your value in real time. It tells the other person that you are not fully at ease with yourself unless the bond is continuously reassured. Clear communication is calm, concise, and self-contained. Over-explaining is urgent, layered, and emotionally loaded. One comes from self-trust, the other comes from the fear of being misunderstood, misjudged, or quietly replaced. And this is the critical distinction most men miss. Explaining is not neutral. It reveals your internal posture. The more you explain, the more you reveal that your sense of stability depends on how you are being received. Over-explaining is not driven by logic. It is driven by fear. Specifically, the fear of losing emotional connection. When a man starts explaining himself excessively, it is usually not because he believes the explanation is necessary, but because he senses a threat to the bond and tries to neutralize it. This fear is often subtle. It doesn't feel like panic. It feels like alertness, a slight tightening in the chest when a message goes unanswered, a spike of attention when her tone changes, a background anxiety that whispers something is off. Over-explaining is the attempt to calm that anxiety by restoring certainty. At a psychological level, This behavior is rooted in attachment. Men who over-explain are often not afraid of being wrong. They are afraid of being disconnected. They equate emotional distance with danger, and words become a way to close that distance as fast as possible. This is why explanations often arrive before any accusation. No one asked for clarification. No boundary was set. No problem was stated. Yet the explanation comes anyway, as if the man is answering a question that exists only in his own mind. He is not responding to her. He is responding to his internal fear. The deeper issue is that the bond becomes something that must be maintained actively, rather than something that can tolerate silence, ambiguity, and space. When a man feels responsible for constantly securing the connection, he loses the ability to simply be within it. Ironically, this attempt to protect the bond does the opposite. By revealing how much emotional safety depends on her reactions, he places weight on the connection instead of stability within himself. Desire does not grow under that weight. It quietly retreats. Over-explaining, then, is not a sign of care. It is a sign of inner unrest. And until that unrest is addressed, no amount of explanation will ever bring the security it is trying to create. Desire does not operate on explanations. It operates on perception. And perception is shaped far more by emotional stability than by words. This is why over-explaining damages attraction so quickly, often without the man even realizing what went wrong. At the level of attraction, women are not evaluating the accuracy of what you say. They are sensing how you are saying it. Over-explaining communicates that your emotional state is reactive, that you are adjusting yourself in response to her reactions, rather than standing firmly in your own center. One of the first things over-explaining collapses is polarity. Desire requires contrast, grounded presence, meeting receptive awareness. When a man starts explaining himself, he moves out of presence and into self-monitoring. The interaction becomes horizontal instead of charged. Tension dissolves, and with it, desire. Over-explaining also signals emotional dependence. It shows that you need reassurance to remain stable, that silence or ambiguity unsettles you. Even when the content of the explanation is reasonable, the underlying message is not. It says, "I am not fully okay unless you respond in a certain way." Another subtle effect is the destruction of mystery. Desire thrives in what is felt, but not fully defined. Over-explaining removes that space. It attempts to make everything explicit, safe, and resolved. But attraction is not built in resolution. It is built in contained uncertainty. This is why clarity alone never creates desire. You can explain yourself perfectly and still lose attraction. What matters is whether you remain emotionally intact while things are unresolved. Stability is attractive. Self-containment is attractive. Explanations are not. In the end, over-explaining doesn't push desire away because it is too much information. It pushes desire away because it reveals a lack of trust in your own grounding. And desire cannot rest where inner stability is missing. Most men never realize they are being tested when they start over-explaining. There is rarely a direct question, no explicit demand for clarity. Instead, there is a pause, a shift in tone, a moment of emotional ambiguity. And in that moment, something important is being observed. The test is not about your explanation. It is about your nervous system. She is unconsciously sensing how you handle uncertainty. Do you stay calm when things are unclear? Or do you rush to restore comfort with words? Do you remain steady in the absence of reassurance? Or do you start negotiating for emotional safety. When a man over-explains, he fails this test not because he said too much, but because he revealed inner instability. He showed that silence unsettles him, that ambiguity feels threatening, that his sense of ease depends on how quickly the connection is emotionally secured. This is why explanations often make things worse. The more you talk, the more you highlight that you are reacting rather than responding. What could have remained neutral becomes emotionally charged, not by her reaction, but by your need to resolve it immediately. Women are not consciously judging this process. It is sensed, not analyzed. The body picks up what the mind never articulates. A calm, unbothered presence signals safety. A restless need to explain signals fragility, even if the words themselves are kind and reasonable. The paradox is that nothing is usually required of you in these moments. No defense, no clarification, no emotional labor. What is being looked for is simple but rare: the ability to remain internally stable when nothing is guaranteed. And when that stability is present, no explanation is necessary. When it is absent, no explanation is ever enough. Many men respond to this insight by trying to be even nicer. They soften their tone, add reassurance, and explain themselves more carefully, believing that kindness will restore safety and attraction. But this is where the misunderstanding deepens. Niceness is often a strategy, not a state. It is used to smooth over tension, avoid conflict, and secure approval. When niceness is driven by fear of losing connection, it does not feel calming. It feels accommodating, and accommodation quietly erodes attraction. Being nice in these moments usually means adjusting yourself to fit what you believe she wants. You anticipate her reaction, shape your words to prevent discomfort, and prioritize emotional harmony over self-alignment. This may keep things polite, but it also communicates that you are not anchored in your own position. What actually creates safety is not niceness, but self-containment. A man who is emotionally grounded does not rush to reassure. He does not try to manage the other person's feelings. He allows tension to exist without needing to dissolve it immediately. This is why trying harder backfires. Effort is felt as pressure. Care becomes obligation. And attraction does not grow in an environment where one person is subtly managing the emotional atmosphere for both. The difference is subtle but decisive. A nice man reacts to the moment. A grounded man allows the moment. One seeks approval through adjustment. The other remains steady without resistance. Desire responds to the second, not because it is colder or less caring, but because it signals something rare: emotional independence. And without that independence, niceness is never enough. Confident men do not replace over-explaining with silence. They replace it with presence. The difference is important. Silence can still be anxious. Presence is calm, grounded, and intentional. Instead of filling space with justification, they slow down. Their responses become shorter, not because they are withholding, but because they are no longer trying to control the outcome. They speak from clarity rather than urgency. A grounded man makes statements, not explanations. He expresses what is true for him and allows it to stand. There is no need to convince, soften, or elaborate unless something is genuinely unclear. The words land because they are not carrying emotional weight. This is why confident communication feels simple: a brief acknowledgement, a calm boundary, a clear observation, then space. No follow-up text to fix how it might be received. No mental replay of the interaction. no urge to repair something that was never broken. Presence also shows in pacing. Confident men do not rush to respond. They are not reactive to silence or delay. Time does not feel threatening because their stability does not depend on immediate reassurance. What replaces over-explaining is not technique, but trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in the connection. And trust that you do not need to be fully understood in every moment to remain grounded. When that trust is embodied, words become secondary. The message is carried by your state, not your explanation. And that state is what desire responds to. The real change does not happen at the level of behavior. It happens at the level of identity. As long as a man believes he must actively secure the bond, over-explaining will always return in moments of tension. The habit disappears only when the inner posture shifts. That shift begins with self-trust, not confidence in what you say, but trust in your ability to remain whole, even if the connection wavers. When a man no longer experiences emotional distance as a threat, he no longer reaches for words to protect himself. This requires a quiet willingness to lose approval, not out of defiance, but out of self-respect. The grounded man does not chase reassurance because he knows his value is not negotiated moment by moment through reactions and responses. Emotional self-sufficiency is often misunderstood as detachment. It is not. It is the ability to stay open without becoming dependent, to care without clinging, to remain present without needing immediate validation. When this internal stability is embodied, communication changes naturally. Explanations fall away on their own. Silence becomes comfortable. Ambiguity becomes tolerable. And desire has room to breathe again. The paradox is simple. The more willing you are to stand alone internally, the more magnetic you become relationally. Over-explaining fades, not because you try to stop it, but because there is nothing left inside that needs defending. And from that place, presence speaks louder than any explanation ever could. Over-explaining was never the problem. It was only the symptom. The real issue has always been self-trust, the ability to remain grounded when things are unclear, to stay calm when the bond is not immediately reassured. Desire does not disappear because you said too much. It disappears when your words reveal that your inner stability depends on someone else's response. This is not about withholding. It is not about dominance. And it is not about becoming emotionally distant. It is about becoming internally anchored. When you no longer feel the need to justify your existence, to explain your emotions, or to manage how you are perceived, something shifts. Silence becomes neutral. Presence becomes felt. And desire has space to return. If this resonated, stay. This channel is not about tactics or performance. It is about becoming someone who does not need to explain himself. Because the strongest presence in any room is the one that stands without defense.